They were not rebels, not at first. They were princes, heirs to the greatest empire in Western Europe, and they were the king's own sons. In the 1170s, the most powerful ruler in Christendom would be driven from his throne, hunted across his own lands, and betrayed by the very children he had raised to inherit everything. This is the story of the family war that nearly destroyed England, and the dynasty that ruled half of France. This is the rebellion of the sons of Henry II. In the middle of the 12th century, Henry II of England was the most formidable monarch in Europe. Through conquest, inheritance, and marriage, he ruled an empire that stretched from the Scottish border to the Pyrenees. England, Normandy, Anjou, Aquitaine, lands richer and larger than the royal domain of the French king himself. But Henry's greatest achievement would also become his greatest vulnerability. He had sons, many of them, and each believed he was born to rule. Henry was a brilliant administrator, a tireless reformer, and a relentless ruler. He reshaped English law, strengthened royal justice, and restored order after years of civil war. Yet, in his own household, he planted the seeds of catastrophe. His queen, Eleanor of Aquitane, was no ordinary consort. She was the most powerful woman in Europe, heiress to vast lands in France, and once Queen of France before marrying Henry. Their marriage had been a political earthquake. Together, they forged an empire. But they were also two dominant personalities, bound more by ambition than affection. Their sons grew up in a court of wealth, power, and expectation. Henry the young king, crowned during his father's lifetime, but denied real authority. Richard, the fierce and proud Duke of Aquitaine. Geoffrey, cunning and volatile, ruler of Brittany. And the youngest, John, still a boy, but already favored by his father. They were raised to be kings, but they were never taught to be patient. Henry II made a fatal mistake, common to powerful rulers. He refused to let go. In 1170, he crowned his eldest surviving son, Henry the young king, as co-king of England. It was meant to secure the succession and prevent civil war. But the young Henry received only a crown, not a kingdom. He had the title of king, but no lands to govern, no revenues to command, no power to exercise. He was a king in name only, living in his father's shadow. The humiliation festered. While his father governed an empire, the young king was expected to wait, to obey, to accept ceremonial honors, while real authority remained firmly in Henry II's hands. And he was not alone in his frustration. Richard resented his father's interference in Aquitaine. Geoffrey chafed under Henry's control of Brittany. Even Eleanor, once Henry's greatest ally, now felt sidelined and politically trapped. The family that ruled Europe had become a pressure chamber, and in 1173, it exploded. The rebellion began not with swords, but with a flight. The young king slipped away from his father's court and rode to Paris, seeking protection from King Louis VII of France, his former father-in-law and longtime rival of Henry II. Louis saw opportunity. If Henry's own sons would rise against him, the Angevin Empire might finally be broken. Soon, Richard and Geoffrey joined their brother. So did powerful French nobles, the King of Scotland, and rebellious lords across England and Normandy. Even Eleanor of Aquitaine was captured, trying to join her son's cause, allegedly riding in disguise. What had begun as a domestic dispute became an international war. Father against sons, king against heirs, empire against itself. The rebellion of 1173 to 1174 was one of the most dangerous crises Henry II ever faced. Castles rose in defiance. Armies gathered on multiple fronts. In England, barons who still remembered the anarchy of the previous civil war threw their support behind the princes. In France, the Capetian king coordinated attacks on Normandy and Anjou, and at the heart of it all stood the sons, young, ambitious, and convinced that their father was stealing their birthright. Yet, for all their righteous anger, the princes lacked one thing their father possessed in abundance: experience. Henry II moved with ruthless speed. He crossed the Channel in winter storms, marched his armies through hostile territory, and personally directed sieges and counterattacks. One by one, rebel strongholds fell. The King of Scotland was captured. French allies withdrew. The Great Coalition collapsed. Within a year, the rebellion was broken. The sons were forced to kneel before their father and beg forgiveness. Henry II, outwardly magnanimous, restored their allowances and titles. But the trust was gone. The family peace was a facade. Beneath it lay resentment, fear, and unfinished business. The young king remained king without a kingdom. Richard remained constrained. Geoffrey remained scheming. Eleanor remained imprisoned, spending the next decade under guard. And Henry II remained in control. But time and sons do not stand still. In 1183, the fragile truce shattered again. The young king, still restless and deeply in debt from his lavish lifestyle, rose once more in rebellion, this time against his brother Richard, with their father's reluctant involvement. War flared across Aquitaine, but fate intervened in a way no army could. The young king fell ill with dysentery. As he lay dying, he was overwhelmed with guilt. He sent messengers to his father, begging forgiveness for his rebellion. He asked to be buried at the shrine of Thomas Becket, the archbishop whose death had once haunted Henry II's reign. When he died, at just 28 years old, the first crack appeared in the future of the Angevin dynasty. The crown passed not to a living heir, but to a grieving father and two surviving sons who no longer trusted one another. Geoffrey would die next, in a mysterious tournament accident in Paris. That left Richard and John. Richard, the warrior, the crusader, the lion-hearted. John, the youngest, overlooked, underestimated, but quietly watching. Henry II, aging and increasingly isolated, now placed his hopes in John. And once again, the seeds of betrayal were sown. Richard, feeling sidelined and threatened, turned to the same weapon his brothers had used before him: alliance with France. In 1189, he joined forces with a new French king, Philip II, and marched against his own father. Castles fell, lords defected. Even Henry's most loyal supporters deserted him. At last, sick, exhausted, and broken, Henry II was forced to accept terms. When he asked to see the list of traitors who had joined the rebellion, one name struck him like a blade: John, his youngest son, his favorite. The son for whom he had planned everything had joined his enemies. According to chroniclers, Henry turned his face to the wall and said, "Now, let everything go as it will. I care no more for myself nor for the world." Days later, he was dead. The family war had claimed its final victim. Richard would become king, launching England into crusade and legend. John would follow, ruling disastrously and losing most of the French Empire his father had built. The Angevin realm would fracture, never again reaching the power it held under Henry II. And the rebellion of the sons would echo through English history as a warning. that even the greatest empire can be undone, not by foreign invasion, but by blood. Henry II had conquered kingdoms, reformed laws, and humbled nobles, but he could not command the loyalty of his own children. In the end, it was not France, not Scotland, not the church that nearly destroyed his reign. It was his family. The war between father and sons reshaped the medieval world, weakened the Angevin Empire, and set the stage for the long struggle between England and France that would dominate the next 3 centuries. Power, once divided, is never easily shared. And inheritance, when mixed with ambition, can become the most dangerous battlefield of all. The echoes of that family conflict would shape English kingship for generations, reminding every ruler that the most perilous enemy may not be beyond the borders, but within the bloodline itself.